We are almost 10 weeks into fantasy hockey, and there are a bundle of players that I think you can easily buy low on right now to help you win your fantasy leagues. So in this video, guys, I'm going to be breaking down 5 players that I think could be league-winning trade targets that you could be acquiring in your leagues. This is going to be a good video, guys, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Starting this video off, we have Filip Forsberg of the Nashville Predators. Now, this team in general has been not really easy to watch, not really easy to own a lot of their players. It's been a difficult ride for the Nashville Predators in the early going. A team that was honestly winners in the offseason. And to me, I was a little bit concerned that they acquired 2 snipers in Stamkos and Marchessault, and I really didn't know what the impact that would have on Forsberg. But we knew Stammer was a good power play guy, and that's where a lot of these Nashville Predators players get their points. And the power play has been relatively poor this season, and that has impacted the players' production significantly this year. Now, with Filip Forsberg here, all of his per game rates are at or close to career lows. We can see on screen here his points per game at 0.66 since 2019. That's by far the lowest rate. The goals per game down at 0.31. Again, that is a career low since 2019. And even the assists, 0.34. Very, very poor numbers right now from Filip Forsberg to start the season, but there are some promising factors. Now, his shooting percentage is down to 8.9%, which again, in those last 6 years, that's the lowest point, 0.89%, and his average over that time, 12.8%. So hopefully this number begins to regress back to the mean. Right now with Filip Forsberg, he's still playing massive minutes. He's playing line 1, power play 1, 19 minutes and 11 seconds per night, the highest rate of his career. And right now he's currently rank 1 in the NHL for shot attempts per 60 with close to a 700 shot attempt pace, which is right where we saw last season when he broke out for the best season of his career. Now, the power play production, like I mentioned, has declined significantly year over year. 2023, you can see those numbers, 0.23 power play assists per game, 0.16 power play goals per game. Both of those numbers have declined this season, so hopefully they can start to figure out their power play. But again, with the injury to Josi, this may not happen in the short term. I still think with Filip Forsberg, he does have the upside to be a top 10 to 15 player this season. Both the shot and hit mix just speak to his very, very good floor. He's on pace for a career high 193 hits. So a lot to like here from Filip Forsberg for a guy that was going basically in the second round. You can probably get him for 4th or 5th round value. I think this is a great time to look to buy low on him. Moving on, we have Carter Verhaeghe of the Florida Panthers. Now, just to start, the position eligibility of center left wing is pretty solid, especially because left wing is actually, to me, one of the most difficult positions to fill this season. I feel like there's just a lot of really good valued right wingers, but I digress. Jumping over to Carter Verhaeghe here. Now, I don't really think he's that big of a buy low, but I think with the most recent changes to the lineup where he was down to line 3, he was on power play 2, there's been just a lot of unknown factors here for Verhaeghe, maybe scaring off fantasy managers a little bit, maybe with the time on ice fluctuating, but right now he is on pace for 67 points, but the biggest factor is that significant drop in goal scoring. As you can see, the points per game at 0.79 are a little bit higher than his previous career low with Florida at 0.71, but the goal per game is way down, especially over the last 2 seasons where he was at 0.52 goals per game and 0.45 goals per game, and now he's at 0.28. So his shooting percentage at 8.4% is the lowest of his career, nearly 5% lower than last season. So this number is likely going to regress back to the mean. Verhaeghe's back skating on the top line with Barkov and Reinhart. He's back on the top power play unit. The minutes look great this season at 1837, the highest minutes of his career. And right now, he has the 17th best shot attempt rate in the NHL at 6.48 total shot attempts per game. So there's a lot to like here from Carter Verhaeghe. I think fantasy managers won't really hesitate too much to move him. It's just a matter of the value that you're going to give up for him. You know you're getting out of Verhaeghe 35 goals, 70 points, a good amount of points on the power play. He's going to be playing with Barkov, playing with Reinhart, and this Florida Panthers team turns players into gold. The biggest surprising factor with the Panthers right now is that plus minus. Now, it's kind of weird looking at this at plus minus on a per game rate, but negative 0.55 plus minus for Verhaeghe is by far the lowest of his career. So hopefully this begins to turn around. This team's been very good on the power play, not as good at 5-on-5, but still one of the top offensive teams in the NHL, and you definitely want to be looking to own players that are on teams like that. Jumping over to Darcy Kuemper of the LA Kings. This was someone I was really touting in the preseason, and I do own him in 4 of my 7 leagues. Now, the big problem with Kemper so far in the early going is the injuries. And if you've owned him, just like I have in 4 of my 7 leagues, as I just mentioned, it's been a difficult ride right now. He's honestly had almost more time on the IR than he's had in my active lineup. But still, the numbers when he's healthy are extremely good. So other than the one bad game where he played against the Ottawa Senators, I'm pretty sure they gave up 5 power play goals, and Kemper had 8 goals against in the game. They lost 8-7 in overtime. So if you just take that game out, get rid of it, don't think anything of it, it's an outlier. Kemper has not allowed more than 3 goals in a game, and in 8 of his 12 starts, he has allowed 2 goals or less. Now, if this isn't enough to justify why you should be owning Darcy Kemper, let me speak a little bit to the LA Kings defensive metrics this season. Now, a lot of people in preseason were saying they're changing their system up this year. It's a little bit concerning. They also lost Pierre-Luc Dubois, who is a great centerman. Well, not really great, but still, they had a lot of depth up in the center position. Now, with the LA Kings system changing, what have we seen? They currently rank 5th in the league in Corsi for percentage, 3rd in the league in shots for percentage, and they allowed the 3rd least scoring chances against. So clearly the system changes really have had no impact. They lost Drew Doughty in preseason, and they're still the LA Kings team that we've seen over the last couple of seasons, where they are great defensive teams, and the goaltending has flourished because of that. Now, the only downside right now to owning Kemper, as you can see, a 2.37 goals against average, a 907 save percentage. The reason why the save percentage is a little bit low is because the LA Kings just don't really allow a lot of volume. Now, that's a little bit concerning because the save percentage numbers are going to be a little bit fluctuating, but that means the goals against average are going to be good. So the Kings don't allow a lot. Kemper, he's this clear starting goaltender. They don't want to be giving Riddick any more reps than Kemper. So this is a great time to buy low on him. He's just 62% owned right now on Yahoo. So you can get him at a significant discount. For me, I think he has the upside to be a top 10 to 12 goalie for the rest of the season. Moving on, we have the most notable second half performer in Kevin Fiala. I'm going to give a shout out to Beta Human. I shouted this out in the Discord, but I remember I talked about how he was a very good sell high a couple seasons ago. And you said, no, don't sell high on him. You know what's going to happen in the second half. And that's exactly what Kevin Fiala does. Now, there have been some internal issues with Kevin Fiala, and maybe that's been kind of the impact on why he hasn't been producing as well as usual. He did miss, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of meetings and then was scratched. There were a lot of concerns he was having some internal issues, but hopefully things have been figured out. I don't really know what's happening internally with the LA Kings. I'm just making assumptions based on what I see in the media. But right now with Kevin Fiala, as you can see, since joining the LA Kings, his 0.67 points per game is the lowest rate since 2018. But again, it's the first half of the season. It's Kevin Fiala. We always know he goes off in the second half. I'm just banking on that again this season. But the goal scoring, the shots are pretty much around the normal rate. You can see the goal scoring numbers, 0.37 goals per game is just a little bit higher than the last 2 seasons. The shot rate is identical to the season prior, 2.74, a little bit down from 2 seasons ago, but still no concern at all. Now the minutes have dropped a little bit, 17-22. I expect these to scale up as the season progresses. He plays a very good top 6 power play 1 role. He's probably one of their most dynamic offensive players outside of Adrian Kempe. Now, he's as consistent as they come with Kevin Fiala. Just like for Hagee, you know exactly what you're going to get out of him. 30 goals or 28 goals. I know he hasn't broken 30 in the last 2 years, but like 28 to 30 goals, 70 plus points, very good shot rate, good power play mix. So with him right now, I think it's a great time to buy low until we see the second half Kevin Fiala. I mentioned in the Kemper bit, this team is very, very good. They defend well, they play offense well. So there's a lot to like here from the LA Kings players, and especially a guy that's going to be the focal point of their offense moving forward. So a lot to like here from Kevin Fiala, and I think he is a great buy low target. Moving on, let's end this video off with a defenseman in Vince Dunn of the Seattle Kraken. Now, with Vince Dunn early this season, he's only played 10 games. He was injured for about 2 months, and that just means you can buy low on him because fantasy managers look, they see the rank. Oh my God, he's ranked 403. I can get rid of him. And this is a perfect opportunity for you to scoop up a guy who's relatively close to a point per game defenseman over the last 3 seasons, a very strong shot rate. Now, the only issue I have with Vince Dunn right now is they did acquire Brandon Montour in the offseason. His minutes have dropped a little bit from 23 minutes to 21:30. Not really much of a concern for me there because Vince Dunn does quarterback the power play 1A and Montour quarterbacks the power play 1B, but it's not really the power play points I like from Vince Dunn. He's a very solid 5-on-5 point producing player. The shot rate's extremely good, And you can see his production over the last 2 seasons: 25 goals, 110 points in the last 140 games for the Seattle Kraken. We're not including the numbers from this year, but that would just inflate it even more. If we do the math, 150 games, 119 points. Very, very good from Vince Dunn, who's close to a point per game so far this season, averaging 2.4 shots per game. Now, the shooting percentage is a little bit high at 12.5%. That's really high for most defensemen. But still, with Vince Dunn here, there is a little bit of injury concern, but I don't think you really need to go over and above to make a trade for him. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of fantasy managers here are going to be looking at his numbers and saying he's kind of boring so far this season. That means this is a great time for you to swoop in and grab a defenseman. Now, there has been 2 big injuries to defensemen right now with Dahlin and Josi. And if you own both of those guys, I know Dahlin may be expected back soon, and we have no timetable for Josi. But if you own one of those defensemen and you just lost them, this is a perfect time for you to try and make a trade to acquire a defenseman to help fill the void of you losing one of your big D-men. But even if not, defensemen are always scarce in fantasy, so Vince Dunn seems like a great player to add. Now, lastly, I just want to mention that all 3 of his hit, shot, and block rates are all at career highs so far this season. Even though his minutes have dropped this year, we're still seeing career highs in per game rates for those 3 key metrics. So with Vince Dunn, I understand, small sample, those numbers may change eventually, but still, what we've seen so far this season is very promising from just a 28-year-old defenseman that is second to Brandon Montour on the back end, maybe first when it comes to offensive ability. They're very, very close, but a lot to like here, and I think this is a very good buy low target for you. That will do it for the trade targets video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you all in the next video.